Welcome back to Bao News Network. We are actually tracking some very severe weather in the region of Arkansas and Texas, as well as Louisiana. As we anticipated going into the early part of this week, we anticipated supercell thunderstorms forming along the border of Texas as well as Louisiana and Arkansas. We do see from the Storm Prediction Center advisory that advisories extend all the way up to the North Dakotas. So we have a marginal threat for Fort Worth, Texas, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Arlington, Texas, Aurora, Colorado, and Lubbock, Texas. Of course, Lubbock and that area is actually back into the sector as far as severe thunderstorm activity, as well as dangerous hail and very large supercell thunderstorms with damaging hail. As far as the slight elevated risk, we are looking at Shreveport, Louisiana, Killeen, Texas, Fargo, North Carolina, College Station, Texas, and Bryan, Texas. As far as the precipitation model is concerned, we're just looking at some really severe weather along the I-35 corridor, just east along the I-35 corridor and east of the border of Texas and Louisiana. Also the four corner Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana border. If we take a closer look, let's see at some of the tornado cells that were actually issued earlier, just a few minutes ago. We can actually see in the area just southwest of Little Rock, Arkansas, there were actually 4 tornado advisories with a local spotter report of a funnel cloud located just close to the Hot Springs area near Malvern, Arkansas, and near Gurdon, Arkansas. But these are very powerful supercells that we're actually spotting in the region. And as we had anticipated going into this week, Monday and Tuesday, we anticipated very severe weather here based on the forecasting at the Weather Service and based on the storm prediction model. We do see some very severe storms that are extending all the way through Louisiana into northern Arkansas, near Little Rock, Arkansas. We can actually see those pretty severe tornado advisories being extended there. Residents of Pine Bluff should be preparing, or probably perhaps already in the scope of supercells approaching the area. We anticipate very severe thunderstorm activity approaching the area of Little Rock, Arkansas also. And quite notably, the area close to the border between Louisiana and Texas is an area of great concern this evening. As we get into the evening hours, one of the main concerns we have has to do with surface heating and the removal of any capping that might prevent the creation of tornadoes. Let's not rule out the possibility of a nighttime tornado or two in this region going into the latter part of tonight, for the simple reason that we are wrestling with very warm temperatures across the continental United States. If you see in the region that we're looking at with respect to Louisiana and Texas, we see that temperatures are in the 90s in that zone. 91 near Houston, about 83 to 85 degrees near Dallas. Central Texas is about 91 degrees. Out in Arizona, near Phoenix, it's 91 degrees. And also we do see in the state of Florida, Central Florida, 94 degrees. They anticipate more severe thunderstorm activity. So the region that we're really looking at closely, of course, is the Dakotas along Minnesota area for the slight in the slight zone for thunderstorm, as well as hail and damaging winds, along with the region in Texas along the Louisiana border. We anticipate additional rainfall for Louisiana as well as Mississippi and Alabama. We do anticipate these supercells will actually start making their way into the lower Mississippi Valley, into Tennessee, possibly into Ohio later on this evening. But just take a look at the eastern seaboard. Those temperatures are well firmed in the 90s, 93 in Maine, in New Hampshire, 93 degrees, Pennsylvania in the mid 80s. In the region of Vermont, we're looking at the upper mid 80s. In New York, in the 90s. In the region of North Carolina, West Virginia and Virginia, we're looking at mid 80s to low 90s. And also in North Carolina, mid 80s to 90s. South Carolina is well firmed, anchored into the region of the low 90s. So we are wrestling with very warm temperatures. As we go back to this advisory, it is very rare for us to see on the Doppler radar this type of effect where we see four different tornado advisories at once with a local spot report of a funnel cloud. Now keep in mind, a funnel cloud doesn't necessarily mean that a tornado was actually issued in that area. There are other factors that they actually look for as far as making sure that a tornado did actually touch down. But as far as the advisories are concerned, we are looking at some very, very severe weather in the region for Sparksman, for Bearden, also Gurdon, and also Cato Valley, Midway, Arkansas, Malvern, Arkansas, Amity, Arkansas, as these storms actually make their way northeast towards Little Rock. Then Pine Bluff is actually in the line of scope of these very, very powerful supercells that are making their way into the heart of Arkansas this evening. And we anticipate similar type of weather in northern Louisiana, as well as along the border of Texas, the Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana border later on this evening. So there's definitely going to be an advisory for those in this region. Once we take a very, very closer look at this Storm Prediction Center modeling that is updated very, very frequently, we do see that we do have quite a few cities in Texas that are under watch: Fort Worth, Arlington, College Station, Bryan, Texas, Lubbock, Texas, and then we have Shreveport, Louisiana. As these cells make their way deeper into Arkansas, definitely Pine Bluff, Arkansas should be listed, as well as Little Rock, Arkansas should be listed for possible severe weather. If we take a closer look at the temperatures in that region, we do see, even though the temperatures are in the mid 70s and low 80s in Arkansas, we are dealing with very, very saturated ground soil from ongoing thunderstorms throughout the last few weeks. So when we take a closer look at the dew points, we do see that the dew points here are upper 60s, low 70s. So this area does have a fuel of very, very intense low level moisture that's actually fueling these supercells forming in the region of Arkansas and Louisiana. Do keep in mind that the sea surface temperatures are hovering between 81 degrees and 82 degrees, so there's ample fuel, very warm, moist air that is going to be pushing these supercell thunderstorms through the region into Arkansas and Louisiana, as well as western Tennessee into the later part of this evening. We are very concerned about tornadoes actually hitting the region. There are a significant amount of Cape available potential energy, convective available potential energy in the region. If we take a closer look at this Cape profiling, is what we actually use to kind of gauge the storm helicity as supercell thunderstorms make their way through a region. We see that the Cape values are well above 3,000 joules per kilogram, and what that tells us is that this area has a lot of convective potential energy to really increase the possibility of tornadoes. Of course, there are other factors such as capping, as well as bulk shear, as well as relative relative vorticity in the region. When we take a closer look at the bulk sharing in that region, we do see that knots, wind speeds from 30 to 35 knots in the region. So there is enough bulk sharing as well as Cape energy to fuel the possibility of tornadoes in the region. But we are very concerned about the region along the Arkansas-Louisiana border as well as Texas-Arkansas border for additional thunderstorm activity. The elevated warmth of the Gulf of Mexico is also elevating the risk for additional thunderstorms in this region. Very powerful thunderstorms in this region. So as we go back to our storm prediction center modeling, it's very important for us to realize that Texas is under the radar. We're going to be monitoring closely. Also, North Dakota, let's not forget our friends in North Dakota are also under advisory for scattered thunderstorms throughout the evening, going into the latter part of tonight and early tomorrow morning. But we're more concerned about surface heating and how much cloud cover was in the region along the border of Texas as well as Louisiana and Arkansas, and that will help us to understand a little bit more as far as the tornado threat level. We do know that the convective energy is there. We do know that the low level moisture is available. So based on all of these factors as well as extreme warm temperatures in the region, as well as elevated dew points in the upper 60s and low 70s. These are all ample elements for possible tornadoes being formed later on this evening as well as in the night in the region of northern Louisiana into Arkansas as well as along the Texas border. But we will continue to monitor the situation. We're looking at some very, very severe weather. That low pressure system that was previously anchored in the region for northern Texas, we do see that we have a low pressure system over the area of Wyoming, and we are seeing quite a bit of precipitation in the regions of Georgia as well as central Florida. We do see, based on the Storm Prediction Center modeling, that residents of central Florida should anticipate scattered thunderstorms going into the evening, as well as most of the south, but primarily we're looking at regions in the area of northern Texas, northwestern New Mexico, western Oklahoma, all the way up to North Dakota, also eastern Colorado we should be watching, as well as northern section of South Dakota is actually in the zone with parts of Minnesota. So as we look one more time at this video of the four advisories for tornadoes in the region of Arkansas. This is quite rare for us here at the Weather Center. We hope and pray that the residents in this area of Hot Springs and also Malvern, Arkansas, are okay, and there were no actual touchdown of tornadoes. We do see that local spotter report of a possible of a funnel cloud, and we do hope that for residents of Pine Bluff who should be receiving these cells quite shortly, that they will be prepared in the event of a tornado actually touching down in the region. So once again, we want to thank all of our subscribers at Bow News Network for tuning in to this weather forecast. We will continue to monitor the region for additional very, very severe weather, and we will bring that to you with additional reports going into the later part of this evening as needed. As always, please have all avenues of media available to you, such as any kind of tornado warning devices, as well as access to social media. You may lose electricity, you may lose utilities during a tornado touchdown that's close to your neighborhood, so please keep all avenues of media available. Should you need to seek shelter to protect all life and also property. So please heed to all of the different media sources for tornado warnings, and always remember to bow to the weather. And thank you for watching Bow News Network, and have a great day.